Hey, MBA hopefuls, and welcome to MBA Waves. You are on the air. My name is Eric Lucrezia, and we are live with WHU. I'm super excited tonight, not only because of the insane horn honking outside because of the World Cup going on, but because we are having on this episode live tonight the very first school from Germany. Over the 10 years that I've been in the industry, there's a lot of great schools out there, especially in Germany. And I'm excited to have the first one, WHU, Beisheim School of Management, to join us tonight. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Bara. How you doing, Bara?
I'm great. Good to see everybody. Good to see you, Eric.
You too. So without further ado, let's go around the room and let the staff introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Sharon because I know her the longest, although not that long. How you doing, Sharon?
Great. Thank you for having me here, Eric and Bara. My name is Sharon. I am one of the recruiters for the Master of Science programs here at WHU, or WHU, and I'm happy to share my insights from the admissions point of view about the Master of Science programs that we have here.
And what is your role with the Master of Science program?
I recruit, basically. So I'm one of the two recruiters for our team. So I advise students. I am there if students have questions about the application or a bit more content about the academic programs that we offer. We offer 4 different Master of Science programs. So sometimes that can get a little bit confusing navigating the admission requirements and so on. So I'm to assist.
So you are the go-to woman. Awesome. Good to know. All right. And also from the team is Sabine Noe or Noe. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
Noe is correct. Perfectly fine. Good pronunciation, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sabine. I am with WHU since 2016. I'm the head of the recruiting and admissions department for the MBA programs at WHU, located on the Düsseldorf campus.
Oh, nice. Düsseldorf. Yeah. You guys have how many campuses at WHU?
We have 2 campuses. The main campus, the older one, is in Vallendar, which is a tiny town in the center of Germany. And then in 2012, pretty much 10 years ago, we expanded to Düsseldorf and moved the MBA programs there because there's more companies around and it's the MBA folks are a little bit older. So it's more of a, more industry relevance and internationality in the city of Düsseldorf for them.
Nice. Okay. So the MBA, they're always located at Düsseldorf. And what the master's program are also in Düsseldorf, or are they in the small town that you mentioned?
We're in Vallendar, with along with the bachelor programs and the PhDs and the Kellogg WHU Executive MBA program. Yeah.
Okay. And just for people's reference, like what's the nearest major town people can identify with?
Koblenz, yeah, but then that's also not super well known. So I guess Cologne or Bonn, we're kind of along the Rhine on that stretch. Yeah,
the Rhine is nice. All right, so let's pivot over to some of our alumni. So I guess since we went in the order of MSc first, we'll start with Lauren, who did the MSc program, and Lauren Miller. Why don't you say hello?
Hi, Eric. Hi, Bara. Nice to be here. I'm Lauren Miller. I did the MSc at WHU, graduating in 2015, and now I work at Google.
You want to tell the audience where you're originally from and where you're based now?
I'm American, so I'm from very far away from the WHU, and I can talk a lot about what it's like to be an international student in Germany and also at this university. And now I'm back in the United States, but I did work in Germany, a little bit in China, and then finally back here in the US.
We're going to definitely touch on the experience as an alum a little bit later in the program, but it's definitely interesting to know for people that not only can somebody who's not German or not from the European Union or Schengen zone has the possibility to work in Germany after doing a program at WHU, but you can also take that degree because of its brand recognition back to your home country in the US. That's really powerful.
And China.
That's great.
And China.
What?
And China.
Yeah.
Right? How many languages do you speak, Lauren? I need to ask that.
English is my native language. I spoke Spanish growing up, and then I learned German while I was at WHU.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Not bad, and still modest. And then alum from the MBA program, you have Sara. I'm not sure if it's Pepic or Pepitz. How do you pronounce that?
Hi, Eric. Hi, Bara. Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting. And the correct pronunciation is Pepic. So I originate from Bosnia, Croatia, Serbia area. So quite a mix. So my surname is Pepic. Great to be here.
You're most probably been trying.
So I speak like just from that region 3 languages. Yeah, so as you said, I finished or have my MBA from WHU, and I'm the 2019 batch. So I obtained my diploma on the Düsseldorf campus, as Sabine said. I also used to live in Düsseldorf, but today I'm located in Frankfurt. And just like Lauren, I'm also working at Google.
The Google ladies in the house. I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, before I turn the microphone over to Bara, I just want to ask one more question just to kick us off. And this is mainly directed at the professional staff because Lauren and Sarah, you've been out of campus for a little while. What is new and exciting at WHU these days? What's like the latest and greatest happening that you want to share straight away for our audience to hear about?
I can start. So for us, I mean, usually November is always the time where our MBA students go to their international module to Kellogg, not to Evanston. And it was just the case that last week they returned from their Kellogg module. They're super excited, and it's usually a very cool experience. And they've just decorated our Christmas tree together, all the international students, and they're just preparing for a short winter break, dwelling in the memories of Kellogg.
Yeah, that's not a bad partnership. Kellogg being one of the top 10 MBAs in the United States. Great. Anything to share on the MSc side?
Yeah, I think we recently had an integration at Valentar event where there was like a big quiz. So basically the international community at WHU comes together with the Valentar community and get together and, play some trivia games and also just in general, like have a great time. So, but I've also personally been away from campus for the last month or so because I've been on recruitment travel a lot. So that's what I know that happened. But yeah, other than that, we have a Christmas party to look forward to this Friday, coming up on Friday.
Well, I totally know the experience traveling. It's one of the best parts of the job. Yeah.
Well, Christmas parties are also really a good part of the job, right? I've got to say. So WHU has quite a portfolio of programs. So perhaps we can make the distinction between the two that are represented here today, the MBA and the Master's in Sciences. So what are some of the main differences in terms of the target student profile, the program contents, duration, and objectives? I think this could be for the professional staff.
So in terms of the MBA
Sabine,
program,
should I go ahead?
Whatever you prefer.
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, all right.
No, Sabine, you go ahead.
I go ahead. In terms of the MBA programs, these programs are for experienced professionals. So we require a minimum of 2 years of work experience. And the exciting part of it is that your academic degree could be from any field. So in the MBA program, really, lawyers and medical doctors and engineers come together who all share some years of work experience, really wanting to accelerate their career or start a business or just really switch industry, country, function, everything. So usually it's more experienced professionals and very broad experiences.
Got it.
So in contrast, basically we offer 4 different Master of Science programs at WHU. So there's the Master in Management and the Master in International Business, which are both general management programs. There's the Master in Finance and then the Master in Entrepreneurship. So generally our master's programs are 2 years long, of course, all taught in English, like pretty much all the academic programs at WHU. But I guess the target group is a lot different. Basically, we're mostly targeting fresh out of university graduates or graduates with very little or like zero work experience. So the minimum requirement that we're looking for is, of course, internship experience, but you do not have to have any professional work experience to join the master's programs. The other thing is, of course, a lot of our programs are all just consecutive master's programs. So some academic background in the related program that you're in or you want to be in is required. So if you're interested in, for example, finance, some finance experience is required. If you're interested in the Master in Management, we require basically a business administration degree. So unlike the MBA, which of course has candidates and students from all sorts of academic and professional backgrounds, And I guess basically the classes are more advanced versions of what they did in their undergrad. So this is also why we have specific academic requirements. And basically our master students want to do the masters because they want to get into, lucrative roles after graduation. They want to build a good professional network, a solid professional network. And I think maybe Lauren can also elaborate on that, and how the master's programs that she did basically helped her in her career. So yeah, I guess they would also be in a different life stage and also professional stage.
Interesting. Do the students take classes together, the MBA and the MSc students?
I think usually, no, not really. I think the classes are quite different as well. Of course, for the masters, we do have 4 different programs, so they share the courses. So even if you're a finance student, you might be taking classes with an entrepreneurship student, or any combination thereof. But I think the classes are quite different. Yeah.
Got it. Thanks. Lauren, did you want to say something about this?
Sure. Yeah, I was going to add to what Sharon said, only to say that for me, when I think about what is an MBA versus what is an MSc degree at WHU, I think an MBA is a little bit more for people who are trying to pivot to me, at least. It's somebody who's, maybe you didn't have a business background, or you had a business background and now you want to change what you're looking to do, versus an MSc is really about taking, what you've already studied, a business background, and then deepening that knowledge especially in a scientific study background.
Interesting. Thank you for that clarification. It's great.
So let me ask, speaking about this MBA program at WHU, or as I'm hearing you say, is it WHU? How do you pronounce it?
Almost. WHU.
WHU. Okay, this is the first big insight I'm getting from this program today. WHU. Speaking about this particular MBA program, what are some of the standout, unique features of this program compared to other MBAs out there, particularly in Europe? Because probably most people are looking at, if they're either looking at MBAs in Europe or looking in North America or looking in Asia, is usually the trend, not always. But compared to others in Europe or beyond, what are the biggest standout features of WHU?
What I love about the MBA program is that it's a relatively small program. So on average, we might only have, 40 students per intake, which makes a very intimate, small class setting with a lot of interaction with the professors, among the peers. I think this already makes for a very interesting environment where you're not just a number, but you'll always be a name. I think that makes working there also so exciting. And accordingly, we would place a lot of emphasis on leadership and career development, with a lot of one-on-one coachings, one-on-one career coaching, one-on-one leadership coaching. I think that can make a huge difference if you really want to make a big change, because you will always have very tailor-made services for your profile and your personal story. I think that is usually something that our students appreciate very much. The internationality portion is cool as well. Of course, students who want to come to Germany, they usually want to enter the German job market because they come from all over the globe, and Germany is quite attractive in that sense. But at the same time, they also want to have a very international degree. And in that sense, having these partner universities allows for a global business mindset while mainly studying in Germany. I think this makes for a pretty cool combination of features.
Definitely. Okay, thanks for explaining that.
So how about with the Master of Science? What makes that degree so special?
I think the Master of Science also shares a lot of the things that Sabine just mentioned, because WHU is a small business school. So even also in the Master of Science programs, we, I would say each class of students, we have about 200 students across 4 different programs. And that means that, the professors can really get to know you, and they actually really do make an effort to. They try to learn the names before the students even arrive, and they're really excited every year to get the new students, to welcome them and so on. And of course, that also means that, with the career services, like with the Career Center, for example, they really are able to also get to know the students and sort of help them in what they want to do with their professional careers. And that's the big advantage we have in being small. And also, you spend basically, 2 years in the master's program, okay, but I mean, the first year really is when you're at WHU and in Germany. And, you know, because we're not a huge campus, you know, people really also get to know each other. And a lot of our students become future business partners, future co-founders. And I think that's something that would be difficult to do, you know, if it's a huge school with tens of thousands of students. And of course, you know, getting into that alumni network and really tapping into that alumni network is also a really important emphasis for us. So, you know, a lot of people go to business school to also network, right, and get to know people. And I think that we do a really good job of making sure, you know, that happens for our students.
Thank you. That sounds great.
Yeah, definitely. I think network is arguably one of like the most important things you're going to get out of your business degree, whatever you do, whether it's a master's, MBA, exec. You know, it's so much about the brand that you kind of wear on your chest for the rest of your life, surely on your CV and your LinkedIn profile. But you want to make sure you fit in with the rest of the people in that brand, because it really is so much about the people. So I don't know, a lot of us in the MBA world, me as an admissions consultant in the MBA space, we often talk about finding the right fit. We talk about that a lot. There's tons of fantastic programs out there, and like every one of them has their own unique flavor of delivering the nuts and bolts of an MBA, but a lot of it comes down to culture. So could you guys please tell us about the culture at WHU?
So two of the core values that WHU has is courage and commitment. And I think this describes what we call WHU spirit really well, but I would love to hear from our alum, because I think they, as alums, they experience it. They can maybe describe it even better. But for me, like, courage is really being, somehow curious to try out new things, not shying away from challenges, going out of the comfort zones. This is what we see with our students a lot. We challenge them, they want to be challenged, and they just want to be innovative, try out new ways of doing something. This is what you can really feel everywhere. And commitment, I think, translates well into passion, because our students are passionate about what they want to do later, just beyond, I don't know, earning a lot of money, which comes also with the MBA program, but it's usually not their main driver. They really want to do something good. They know that they're going to be in very responsible leadership positions later on, and they can have an impact to their future company, team, or society, however you want to frame it. And I think this is very valuable as a cultural element. And this is what you can really feel on campus everywhere. Sara, what would you say? How would you describe the WHU spirit?
Thanks, Sabine. Well, just like you said, I remember when I stepped into the campus and saw all these different friends, future friends, and let's say classmates. I think I really got the real feel of WHU at the campus. And we haven't spoken about the difference between full-time and part-time MBA. So I did full-time. And this is what Sabine also said, something about the courage. So students who were doing full-time MBA had to make a whole year break in their careers, maybe risk their current jobs or whatever, take the risk that was their family, etc. So this is something that was kind of binding us all together. Some moved countries, and it was instantly like a little family feeling because everyone was at the same place. And we also had the chance to just practice how we work together with different nationalities, different kind of personalities. And for me, the real WHU spirit was not just day to day to be seen and felt. It was just like also during hardworking nights and evenings. And it was such an incredible experience because we were really pushing ourselves over the boundaries that we had. It was like out of our comfort zone, working on the cases that were sometimes very, very difficult, sometimes quite normal to those who came from different disciplines. But we were all somehow always mixed up in different groups. We were really challenged by this kind of ambiguity of groups, of personalities, sometimes languages as well. And this is something that for me is very, very unique to WHU. Even on the full-time program where we had people from Germany also deciding, like me, I was living at the time in a different city, but I decided to make a break for a year on my previous job and join this international group of people. So it was really a nice mix. And this spirit is to be felt also after the MBA, because somehow WHU alumni, doesn't matter which program, was it bachelor or the old doctoral programs or the new ones, we somehow always connect really fast with each other, because this WHU alumni network is somehow just like a family even after the programs.
Can I ask you like a kind of like pop question there, Sarah? Like, do you remember like your first days or first week or so in the program? Like, what did they do at I'm going to screw up the name, WHU, to really integrate you guys from the get-go, to create that spirit and establish what the culture would be? Do you remember?
Yes, I remember my first day very well, and the whole first week. So, I mean, obviously next to the introduction and why are we here, what do we expect, etc. We had a challenge for the week to, I forgot, Sabine, the name of
Future Leaders Fundraising Challenge.
Yeah, thank you. Future Leaders Fundraising Challenge. It was a very social activity in terms of we were working on collecting funds for a specific cause and to do something good with our presence at the campus and in the MBA. And that was our first touch point with each other. So we were already split in smaller and bigger groups. And the whole week we were working literally on fire for a good cause. And I think this is something that I can say is very unique to WHU. I mean, I haven't been on different MBAs, but I know friends who were. And this kind of social activity in terms of also like for a social cause is something where I said, this is definitely the place where I want to be, because it's not just about studying, making connections. It's also about doing good things for the environment or for larger social groups. So that was the first week that we did. Yeah.
Hey, Sarah, thanks for sharing. And I don't, Lauren, did you want to share your vision or perspective on fit or culture there?
Absolutely. I think the community at WHU is really one of the most important and beneficial parts of going to this particular university, right? Like the people that you're meeting there, this small group, you know, depending on what program you're doing, you may or may not be in Fallendar or in Dusseldorf, but you're in this, you get woven, I think, very quickly into this very intimate fabric of these very high achieving people who are from all over the world, who think that anything is possible. And I think it's almost like that you get lifted by the rising tide, right? Like if you don't know necessarily, you have the ambition, but you're like, I don't know what I want to do, or I, you know, I have an idea, but I don't really know exactly how to make it happen. Like being at WHU will get you there, because you're surrounded by these people who just have these, like, for me, it was like mind-blowing ideas. And then they are willing to help you, they know you, and you stay in contact with them even as you graduate and you move on, right? Like I'll give you a great example. When I was at WHU, you know, I come from the United States, and for me, I wasn't super familiar with traveling abroad. And one of the students I was talking to told me that he was going to do an internship in Ghana. And at the time, that was, to me, it was like, God, I've never even imagined going to Ghana, right? And I mean, you can insert any country into that story, right? But you look at him and you're like, wow, okay, there's the person who did it, right? Like I can ask him right now how he achieved whatever thing it was that he did, right? And that's everyone at WHU. And they personally know you because it's a small community. You can call up an alumni and say, hey, you know, how did you do this? Or, you know, I'd love to be part of your company, or tell me about your career. And it's a person who knows you intimately and is willing to do that for you.
Inspiring. Thanks.
It really speaks, you're both speaking of like, what do we need to make dreams reality, right? We need people around us to support us. We need to help hone our own vision. We need a network of people, because creating our dreams completely in a silo is not super fun. So I think it's really apt that that we're talking about. And I do want to hear more about how your dream reality, both of you working at whatever roles you're at Google, has been buoyed up by WHU. So I think it's like you're really setting this really nice foundation of the programs and the school. And so it's lovely. And really, like Eric said, totally inspiring. So going back on the arc of applying and, from being a student and an alum, can you really talk about the admissions process? Because many of our listeners are going to be interested in applying, and they're going to want to know what to expect or what the suggestions are in terms of what would be seen as a great applicant. I mean, we talked about courage, but obviously you don't want an essay just about courage or, these different pieces. Like what is get in the weeds as much as you can to let our listeners know.
So our application process is usually very fast. So I think that's a German stereotype, right? We do things very quickly and very rigid. But what's important is really to getting to know the applicants in person. So we want to learn about the person behind application documents. As you can imagine, we receive a lot of good applications, but everything's on paper. So I'm always like, who's the person? How can we help them? What's their story, right? So for us, I think the most important portion of the admissions or application process would really be the personal interview, where we ask those kind of questions. And it's not like an interrogation or any kind of that. It's really more about, okay, how did you come here? What motivated you to apply? Where are you at your current career? And how can we actually help you make your next step? And it's a lot about fit. So candidates really need to fit. And obviously, a good candidate would be a team player. This is a collaborative program, a collaborative school. It's not that much about competing against one another. It's more about learning from one another, leveraging the diversity. And of course, it would be ideal if candidates could already show that there were times in their career or life where they already had to leverage diversity or teamwork. They don't have to have leadership experience, because that's why they're here, and they will be in leadership positions after the program. But at least they might want to show us what leadership means to them, or their past experience with leadership. They just should show leadership potential, maybe a career progression, and then they should just be authentic. We really want to work with people, and we care about them, and we just want to be yourself. Yeah, don't imitate anyone else or think that you have to be someone different in your application process. Just be yourself. We love to get to know the candidates as they are, because this is where we can truly assess whether there is a personal fit.
Being authentic, right?
Yes.
I think Sabine pretty much hit the nail on the head. Also for the master's programs. So for the master's, we have actually 2 interview stages. The first one is a video interview, where the candidates have to record themselves answering different interview questions. And the final stage is the personal interview. And the reason we have the video interview stage is actually because this might be new. We don't actually require our candidates to write a personal statement or an essay or anything like that at the online stage. So it's really, at the online stage, it's really about us getting your transcripts and your documents and, making sure the eligibility criteria are there. And then during the video interview, the candidates would then start to share a little bit more about why they chose us, why, the specific program that they're applying to, etc. And then afterwards, the final round would be the one-on-one, personal interview. And the only tip that I actually have to sort of add to what, everything that Sabine just said is that, remember that we're doing this because we want to find reasons to have you at WHU. Right. And the entire process is all about just us trying to get to know you. And yes, it's also about fit, but it's also equally your chance as the, future student or future, almost like the future family member of WHU, to see if we are the family that you do want to join. Right. Unlike your actual family, you can choose us also. So, and in that same vein, we're also trying to get to know you better and also, look for reasons to have you with us. So don't approach this personal interview as, oh, they're going to reject me. If I say something, slightly incorrectly, they're going to say no, blah, blah, blah. Don't approach it from the angle of potential failure. Approach it from the angle of potential success and actually, getting an offer from us. So that's one of the big things that I think I like to share with all of my candidates.
That's beautiful. And also, I mean, just the way that you're both describing it, I mean, Sabine saying that, how can we help you? that is such an open-hearted way of communicating, and even not starting with the MSc program, not starting with get everything down on paper, let's have a record of this. Like, you'll have a record of it because it's video, but it's also, you really get to see people's tone more, and you get to see people the way they move, and so it's a very different approach to getting to know someone, right? We don't meet people in the real world. I mean, I guess if online dating you do, right? You do see what people write first, but like, you're really getting a sense of who that person is, and the abundance, like you're talking about it from an abundant mindset, which is really lovely. Back to the documents and the data points, my world is test prep, and I'm curious how the GMAT, the GRE really fit in. And I mean, testing is such a big topic these days. So how important is somebody's score?
For us, it's just one piece of the puzzle. So I think as many admissions managers do, we always have a very holistic view on applicants, and what they bring to the table is not just a test score or how well they have prepared for a very specific standardized test, which might not always tell you about the future students' possibilities or performances, but really also what kind of life experience they bring, what kind of academic and professional experiences they bring. And we all bring this together. In the full-time MBA, we have just recently, a couple of weeks ago, launched something that we call excellent fit assessment, which is supposed to really go beyond the standardized test and essay questions that we look at, but really taking into account what do you bring as a person. And if you have a PhD or a CFA level 2 or any other kinds of like certificates or degrees or experiences, this can also account for merit and readiness for the program. So we have a little bit broadened our horizon. GMAT, you can still submit a GMAT, of course, or a GRE, and we are working on our own admissions test in addition. But we have just broadened the scope of how we look at candidates to really have a more holistic view. And I think we're very happy with that, because it really reflects the candidates that we are looking for, and also the way we are working.
Dare I ask what's going to be on the admissions test that you guys are putting together?
Yeah, it's in the process. It's going to be quite a more intuitive test. Yeah, testing different kinds of skills, but also empathy and social skills, because this is also very important in a business setting. Quants, of course, it's always important, and verbal, reading, listening, comprehension. Sure, that's somehow always going to be part of it, but also really more the things that usually maybe some people tend to forget, which are maybe even the more important aspects of being a future leader.
Yeah, I would say that the GMAT does a good job in reasoning, right? There is reasoning involved, but there's not empathy. There's no intuitive, no. So that's really lovely that you're including that. I'd like to see more business schools doing that. So Sharon, what about you?
Well,
GMAT?
So for the Master of Science programs, it kind of depends on the program that you're looking to apply to. So for Master in Management, Master in International Business, and Master in Finance, we do require a GMAT or a GRE. We accept both, so there's no real preference that we have over one or the other. But of course, most of our candidates would be applying to multiple business schools, and GMAT is more widely used across different business schools. So we do tend to see more GMAT than the GRE. And for the Master in Entrepreneurship, we do not require any standardized testing. Instead, the students have to submit us a pitch deck. So basically, it's a PowerPoint slide of a business idea that they might have worked on in the past, they might currently be working on. So we want to see creativity and things like that. So for the Master in Entrepreneurship, we don't require a GMAT, but for the other programs, we do.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, so that's a pretty good lowdown on all the admissions stuff. I want to pivot back to the program itself, and let's talk about academics for a moment here. Like, we all know that WHU has some fantastic professors, and faculty are what we consider at the heart of any degree. But who are some of your star professors these days, and what are they working on? What makes them so great?
I would say, first of all, in general, WHU is a private university, and we're the only private university in Germany that is part of the German Research Foundation. This is pretty important because, of course, everything that we teach needs to really have a solid research foundation. So our professors are very excellent in research papers, in awards of that sort. But at the same time, as a business school, you always have to make sure that you're also teaching what's practical and what's relevant, what's applicable in business. So I think in general, what's great about the professors is that they will always bring, either they have their business experience and they can share that, but most of the professors, in addition to that, even bring people from practice into the lectures to actually combine both worlds, so to speak. For our MBA program, our academic director is like an expert in marketing, especially in the German-speaking region. He is pretty much in the newspaper or on television every day, commenting on market retailer strategies, omni-channel business, marketing strategies of different kinds of retailers in Germany. So this is always very insightful if students can really
and is that
have
English as well for those of us who don't speak German, or is it mostly more in German?
Of course, we published it in English as well, if it's available, depending on the format. But you can see it usually on our website if you're interested in that. And that's just one example, and this is usually the case for most of the professors. Maybe the students can tell what kind of favorite professors they had. Maybe it's interesting.
Sabine, if you want to put it in the chat, you can put the name of the professor. I can add it to the screen if you want.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that my favorite professor was indeed Martin Fasnacht. So this is the professor director that Sabine now mentioned. He was teaching us 2 classes. It was marketing and price management, if I recall correctly. And the really cool thing about that was that Professor Fasnacht had this great mixture of practice, like what is going on right now in the real world and what are the textbooks saying. And somehow was his accent always on challenging us to think differently or just to question what is going on and predict what could happen, especially for the pricing. And also what really stood out in his classes was he was always bringing different company representatives with their own real cases. So people from L'Oreal or Henkel, they were always coming to the campus and bringing us really cool cases that we could solve. And I think this whole marketing and pricing topic is something that, regardless of the background that students had, somehow was attractive and interesting. So he was a great, or is a great teacher, a great professional, and it made a lot of fun actually being on his classes because he's quite funny too.
Nice.
Yeah, it seems really important when you talk about what the textbooks are saying versus what's really happening in the real world, right? That happens in that happens in nursing, that happens in medical schools as well. So like what's really happening, like, is TikTok in the textbooks yet? Right? I don't know if it is or not. So how about careers, right? So let's face it. We all know that you've got these great programs, but anyone who takes the chance and the risks to quit their job and spend a small fortune on doing MBA wants to know exactly what the ROI is. So tell us a bit about the career services. I know that you mentioned it earlier and you're talking about the fabric of the community. And Lauren, you mentioned how, years later, you're in touch with people you graduated in 2015. So what can students, what can graduates expect in terms of employment opportunities for local applicants and also for those who are abroad? So Lauren, both of you actually come from abroad. So it'd be great to hear like the full spectrum from professionals and the alums for this.
I think
all right, I'll kick us off. I don't want to speak over Sharon and Sabine, who can probably comment a lot more on what career services there are today. After I graduated from WHU, I actually was a local applicant. I ended up working at a multinational in Germany called Henkel. You may know them. They sell a lot of the laundry detergent or soap or glue that you're familiar with in Europe. And then ultimately, I then applied to various jobs, right, and had a variety of roles here in the United States, right? So as a local student, as someone who's trying to work in Germany, I think WHU has an unparalleled ability to get you there, right? The people in the career office by name. You can walk in anytime and get really individualized help. I remember there were a lot of career events where they'd have an interview process as part of the event, so you could go and then you could meet with somebody and then you could have an interview and get an internship offer right there on the spot. And they just really know how to connect you there. there. And as I was mentioning, right, a WHU community is something that is really, really well connected, right? So if you want to work somewhere, we have this a book actually that the alumni network has basically all the contact information of it. There it is, of everybody at the WHU, everybody who wants to be part of this book. And so you can reach out to those people and ask them for help, and they will respond. It's, you know, I went to a really big university for my undergrad, and the personal amount of attention I got was so much lower, right? I mean, you're talking to somebody who maybe you never saw on campus, who maybe never went to the same program or the same dining hall or the same whatever, right? But at WHU, you know you have somebody who has the same experience as you, and that person will get you there. In
So,
terms
Lauren,
of broad, oh, sorry. Yes.
Oh, I was just gonna just chime in there. Like, did you like choose WHU because you were targeting a career in Germany post-degree, or?
I did. So I was actually an exchange student originally, and then I kind of never left. So I was an exchange student. I really, really loved it. And the WHU program was so life-changing for me. So
I won't ask where you were on exchange from, but it's great that WHU could stay.
Yeah, I was. And I wanted to work in the German market, right? So that's why I ultimately chose I wanted to work in Europe, and I wanted to have a really excellent career in Europe. And that was really what WHU, it's our bread and butter, right? So that's why I chose it.
Amazing. And you mentioned there was, I think you said around 40 in Sabine, you mentioned in the MBA program, but how many are in the MSc that you did, Lauren? How many were in your batch?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I want to say we were something like 100, but I may be counting multiple years. Sharon, maybe you know more.
I mean, from back then, I'm afraid I don't know the student numbers, but it was always in the hundreds, I would say, but lower hundreds, not 500 or whatever. So Lauren was in the Master in Management. I think we've always had around 80 to 100 students in the Master in Management. To date, I think the biggest batch of Master in Management students we had was around 120 students. And that was, I think, for the 2020 intake, so the class of 2022. And every year we aim for around 80 to 100 Master Management students. And of course, we have other programs with different target numbers, but they're also a lot smaller. So the Master Management is always the biggest master's program we have.
Sure. Yeah, that's pretty normal numbers for European Masters in Management, I would say. It's Lauren, I feel like I might have cut you off. You were going to say something else when I asked you about, were you targeting a career in Germany? Did you want to jump in and continue, or you covered it already?
I'll only note that if you're a person who's looking to work abroad, right, outside of Germany, I think that WHU is something that can still be a really useful feather in your cap when you're trying to apply. I mean, I can only really speak to working in tech, right, outside, but what tech and what something like Google, or I worked for Amazon also, what they're looking for is a story that's unique and interesting on your resume, right? And WHU is absolutely something that they'll see and they'll say, yeah, that's something I want to know more about. That's the kind of person I'm looking to find out more about, who's traveled, who's seen things. And I mean, even if you're a German student going to school at WHU, you're going to have international study abroad experiences, internships abroad, right? These are requirements of being, when you are participating in the program. So, you develop that unique, interesting quality that a lot of the major employers, at least in the United States, in tech are looking for.
Sure. By the way, I just want to remind anyone who's watching, listening right now on either LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube Live, now's the time to ask your questions. You got a great panel of people right here they're very knowledgeable and happy to share about their experiences or their knowledge working at the school. So I have mainly one more question before we wrap it up. So now's the time to drop those questions in, and I'll ask our panel, what about the alumni network? It's often said that any program is as good as its alumni. So what are your alumni doing besides the two in the panel right now? And secondly, what kind of services exist for alumni at WHU?
Our alumni association is called In Praxi, and I think by now we have around over 6,000 members, really spread across the globe, and they are organized in different chapters. So regardless of which country you're at, you can always look at the different chapters there are. I visited a chapter once when I was in Shanghai. I met alumni in the US, in Latin America, so they are pretty much everywhere. Of course, a lot of them are in Europe or Germany because that's where they end up, but at the same time, It's also very, very broadly spread across the globe. And it might be maybe for US standards a relatively small alumni network, but I think that makes the charm of it, because at the same time you can pretty much reach out to everyone and you will get a response. Because if you're a WHUer and you reach out to another WHU alumni or student, yeah, this is what you expect. And our alumni, they have received this as students being part of the network, and they are happy to give back. How's it with you, Lauren or Sarah? How do you perceive the alumni network from an alumni perspective?
Yeah, so from my perspective, being myself an alumna, I know like a lot of potential candidates are contacting me about WHU, and especially over LinkedIn. I mean, this is quite a normal way of communicating nowadays. And I always respond. I mean, there is no, I would say, like for external students who are just like interested in WHU, there is no filtering for me. But also when I have colleagues or potential, I would say, business partners also working in another company that needs something from Google or Microsoft or wherever I used to work, this WHU connection really is something special. Like, I think the example of Google and myself and Lauren is also really cool. She texted me yesterday and she said, "Oh my God, you're also at Google." Or, for example, we have a lot of leaders at Google who came from WHU. And even inside of these companies that we are in, the alumni network really helps to network further and just kind of get to know people over people. And this is something, I mean, I love the Inpraxi. I'm an active member, and what I think is really cool as well, the Alumni Association is also organizing a lot of events. It was during Corona, everything unfortunately virtual, but actually good that it was at least virtual. And a lot of gatherings where you can expand your network also on a, I would say, face-to-face level. And this is something I think also that makes this also lifelong connection real. And one thing, lastly, that I want to also point out is, as someone who went to the whole at least MBA program, you can have lifelong learning. So I spoke to Sabine recently. I don't know, I was just like interested in learning something new and checking out new courses that we have. And she said, "Yeah, sure. You're always entitled to do this, and you can do it." And this is something really cool. Like it does not all end with your diploma. It's a lifelong connection, network, and learning. And I think this is like the best of the best in one.
That's what you want. You know that you not only have a network of people, but also you can keep refreshing yourself, right?
Yeah.
It's always about updating your skill set and knowledge. And, especially as technology evolves more and more quickly these days, it's good to know that you can tap into that and still continue to grow and develop, because you guys are obviously still quite young and have a whole lot more career ahead of you, right? Anyone else want to add anything?
Maybe I can add one thing if it's interesting. So the most common question I get from people who are at the MBA currently and they're looking for jobs is like, "Oh my God, I don't know how to apply to any tech company with my business skills. Like, I don't know IT. How did you do it?" And I used to work for Oracle, Microsoft, and now Google. And I think something that regardless of Master of Science in Management or MBA, we have to be aware of is tech companies, especially in maybe sales roles or some kind of consultancy roles, are looking for people who can translate a business pain point of a customer. I mean, understand it, translate it into a, I would say, digital setting. So if you look from the other side, when you're studying IT and you're like a programmer or, I don't know, just have a technical background, speaking to a risk manager or a CFO might be different than for maybe Lauren and me, who solved so many cases, learned about different organizations. And this is something that we as business students, bring to technology companies. Like this whole business aspect and the translation of technology into business and business into technology is a huge asset. Like in the end, we are at Google also, this is not a promotion or a technology companies, not just selling technology, we are solving business problems and we are impacting business of our customers. And for that, we need to understand it. And I think with a business background, and especially coming from WHU, where we just were for a year or two confronted with business cases and problems, you're a great asset to these companies.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that, Sara. At this point, we're kind of at the end of the program. I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything else about anyone who's interested in applying for whichever program at WHU. I'm not going to try and pronounce it again. I'm done. I'll pop up the website for the school at the bottom of the screen. But obviously, if you're looking for information about the MBA program, Sabine is the person to reach out to. And for the MSc programs, it's definitely Sharon. And I'm sure that the two alumni in the room would be happy to hear from you if you have questions. Like, you can probably find them on LinkedIn, as always. And listen, I want to thank you all for joining us today. It was really interesting to learn about WHU and the two programs today.
Thank you. It was great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
For those of you in the audience, don't forget to tune in next week, same time, same place, MBAwaves.com for all your programming information, and see you next week. Bye-bye.